Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's your boy Pineapple. Little housekeeping here at the beginning of the video. First, I want to say we've hit 100 views total, so I'm pretty psyched about that. Keep watching. Also, if you want to comment, you have to have a YouTube account. So sign in or create an account, then sign in, watch the videos. You'll be able to put your little comments down in the bottom to tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Couple more things about the channel. I do have my subscriptions to all the other channels that I subscribe to on my page. You can check them out. For music, a good site is 12 Tone. It really goes in depth about music theory and why notes are placed where they are and why they sound so good or not so good, or how it breaks down. It's kind of nerdy, kind of awesome. Also, Botchamania. So that pertains more to the wrestling side. It's a botch. So it's when you try to do a move and it fails, or you see a guy climb up to the second rope and slip and fall, and then the guy's like, "What am I going to do now?" And they have to play it off and keep the story of the match going. And a lot of times it's pretty darn funny. All right, so first off, let's talk about some music. So, kids, if you didn't know, back in the day, there were four big metal bands slash hard rock bands. They were Slayer, Anthrax, Metallica, and Megadeath. We're going to talk about one of them today. Actually, we're going to talk about all of them briefly and one more in depth. So, Slayer. Never really got into Slayer. Just not my cup of tea. And that's okay. Metallica, everybody knows Metallica. Everybody knows all the songs from Metallica. Anthrax, more of a thrash metal band. They're fun. And they're a little socially conscious too. You can check out the song Indians. But they also do a lot of silly songs as well. And then the band we're going to talk about today, Megadeth. Never a huge Megadeth fan. Dave Mustaine, the lead singer, was originally kicked out of Metallica before they made it big. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to make my own band, and we're going to call them Megadeath. And, I kind of looked down on them a little bit, growing up. They were never really, it was like, oh, they're like wannabes Metallicas. I'm like, I didn't really like them. Got a little older. The more I hear them, the more I like them. Dave Mustaine's voice, his growl, and singing voice is very unique. Kind of like how Geddy Lee's voice for Rush, also very unique, but it fits. It fits. Somehow, you put him with another band, it wouldn't work at all. Put him with Megadeth, his band, it works. It works. So, just I have to pull up some lyrics now, because we're not actually going to analyze like the guitars or anything like that. I just want to go over some lyrics to one of my favorite Megadeth songs, and it is, you can hear it on rock radio, and, it was fairly popular. So you might know this one. It's called Sympathy of Destruction. So the lyrics go like this. You take a mortal man, and you put him in control. Watch him become a god. Watch people's heads a-roll. And then it gets into the chorus. Just like the Pied Piper led rats through the streets, we dance like the marionettes, swaying to the symphony of destruction. Back to chorus. Acting like a robot, its metal brain corrodes. You try to take its pulse before the head explodes. Just like the Pied Piper, blah, blah, blah. We dance like marionettes, swinging to the symphony of destruction. The earth starts to rumble, world powers fall. A warring for the heavens, a peaceful man stands tall. Just like the Pied Piper led rats through the streets, we dance like the marionettes, swaying to the symphony of destruction. Grim song. It's an aggressive song. It's a hard song, but, it makes you think a little bit, who's leading us? Where are they leading us? Why are they leading us? I don't want to get political at all on this channel, but, some songs are political and, they have a message behind them. This song, I never really thought too much into it. But it's a rockin' song regardless of the message. Whether you agree with it, whether you don't agree with it, it's a pretty good rockin' song. Changing modes now. We're going to go straight into wrestling. So, today, actually, because it's Sunday, is the Royal Rumble for WWE. So if you don't know what a Royal Rumble is, that's where two guys start out in the ring, and every 2 minutes, another guy comes down to the ring. The only way to be eliminated, tossed out over the top ropes. A few guys have actually won the Royal Rumble from the number one spot. A couple have won from, obviously, you want to get later on to better your chances. So, number 27 is a hallowed spot. A lot of people have won from 27. A couple of people have won from 30. But it's fun. It's shenanigans. There's always some kind of mystery guy that enters, and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about him. Because it's 30 superstars, all right? Name 30 wrestlers right now. Kind of tough to do. Yeah, so you're going to forget one or two. So there's always surprises and pops, and, somebody gets eliminated when they shouldn't be eliminated, just fun stuff. This past week in AEW, they had the Rockin' Rager at Sea, Part 2, and that is Chris Jericho's cruise. They had a Rockin' Wrestling cruise where, you pay like $2,000, and you go on a cruise for a couple days, and in there they actually have a ring, and they tape one show's matches for it, so it's kind of spontaneous, kind of fun. There's some YouTube videos up there about some of the wrestlers doing some karaoke, like there's Moxley doing Sweet Caroline, and then there's Marco Stunt doing Sunglasses at Night with Chris Jericho as his backup, and it looks like a really good time. Maybe sometime down the line I'll go check that out, but it's, like I said, it's all about fun. We're just keeping it light, keeping it fun. There's no competition between I like this wrestling versus I like this wrestling. There's room for all of us. It's a big tent. We can all get behind it. The performers are putting on good stories. The wrestling is good, and even when the wrestling's not good, it's good because that's where you get the botches, and you can just sit back and laugh at those things. All right, so surprise topic today. I'm going to talk about an individual. He's a pretty famous New Yorker. He has a house in Florida. He's a pretty polarizing figure. You either love him or you hate him. And he also did a Visa commercial. Maybe you remember it, maybe you don't. That's right. Talking about Derek Jeter. So, Jeter got elected into the Hall of Fame this year. First ballot. He got 99.7% of the votes. I think something was like 436 out of 437 possible votes. But you say to yourself, Pineapple, who doesn't think Derek Jeter is a Hall of Famer? Well, that's the problem. Everybody knows that Derek Jeter is a first ballot, surefire Hall of Famer. The numbers stick. I mean, he's got over 3,000 hits. Got more hits in the playoffs than anybody. He's kind of ridiculous. I mean, he was the captain of the Yankees for 20 years, played for one team for 20 years in this environment, and not any team. He played for the Yankees, all right? So the reason why he didn't get all the votes, it stems way back to when somebody didn't vote for Babe Ruth. And, so that's the argument. Like, well, Babe Ruth didn't get a unanimous, vote into the Hall of Fame. So why doesn't this guy? And why didn't this guy? And it's just a bunch of haters. Just a bunch of haters and going back on the tradition of hating and hating and hating and hating. Ken Griffey Jr. didn't get all the votes either. And they'll say, well, Ken Griffey didn't. Well, it all stems back to somebody not voting for Babe Ruth on the first ballot on his Hall of Fame eligibility, which... whatever. If you don't want to vote for him, maybe, he wasn't, he had some enemies. Let's say that. Let's just say not everybody liked Babe Ruth. All right. He was a little bit of a rascal. And, at the time, it was different times. You couldn't really be a rascal and get into the Hall of Fame because, grudges and whatnot. So, I don't know. I think it's a bunch of crap. Sorry about the strong language. But, Jeter is, he's the captain. He's great. He should have went in unanimously, like Rivera went in unanimously. He's so there's that. I mean, was he as good as Mariano Rivera? Who knows? That's debatable. Rivera wasn't always, that dominant closer. He started out as an okay starting pitcher, and then he moved and became, the Sandman. So there's that. All right, guys. Yeah, it's been cold here in Florida this week. Threw on the heat a couple times. Yeah, got down into the 30s, upper 30s, but still got down into the 30s. About 45 degrees colder than what we're used to. You may have heard about the iguanas falling from trees. So iguanas are cold-blooded, right? And they climb up the trees. And then it just gets so cold, they kind of freeze, and they're like, and then they fall out the tree. So that's what that's all about. But that was a little further south than Clearwater. Didn't really have to worry about that in Clearwater. But, it was a neat story. It's something we see every year when we get our 2-week cold spell, if you didn't know. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. All in one take, all on the first take, baby. Yeah, getting better at this thing. All right, so you guys have a great weekend. And remember, I am the table.